Jay Howe. He's using Flex. He's using his Flex in his site as well. So he has the whole site wrapped in display Flex, right? And then his aside, he's doing that, zero grow, zero shrink, and then that's the way he's setting his width. So he's using Flex Basis to set his width on that aside, and then on the main, he's basically saying take up the rest of the space with that section. And you can see like the way his site's responsive is you lose it from the right as you come in. Does that make sense? What? Yeah, exactly. So that's just. I'm assuming that's just his, his background. Yeah. And he's setting it all the way to the right. Yeah. Well, he's setting it 670 pixels from the left. So like the difference between the you use that Flex Basis if you want to set an explicit width, as he's done here. Like this Flex, when you have Flex, the first one is the grow, right? So he doesn't want it to grow at all. He doesn't want it to grow, but he sets an explicit width right there, right? So like yesterday when we were doing, or was that today? Sorry, my days are running together. Like when we were doing the Flex Basis 25% and 75%, right? The Flex Grow by default is set to 0. So he's said 0 again, but by default it's set to 0. And then you give it that explicit width like we did with our aside and our main, right? So he gives it that explicit width. So it's always at this, at this media query, minimum width of 801 pixels. I'm really going to need that later. But anyways, at this media query, he's saying don't grow. I'm giving you this explicit width right here, right? Well, see, that's actually what makes this, as I move the screen, see how the learn to code, the aside right here, doesn't change at all? Because he gives it that explicit width and says don't grow, don't shrink, right? Stay there. And then for the main part, he's not giving it an explicit width, he's giving it an auto width, and it's saying, basically grow, right? So it's saying grow to cover up the rest of the.
And is the other one the shrink?
The middle one, shrink, yeah.
So grow 1, shrink 1.
Mm-hmm. And then the auto, yeah.
And the auto is to grow and shrink automatically depending on the size of the screen?
Yeah, for lack of a better way to explain it, yes. I've never really seen it so here it's if set to 0, the extra space around the content isn't factored in. If set to auto, the extra space is distributed based on its Flex Grow value. So like this would be that auto comes more into play when you have multiple things on the line, right? With Flex Grow values. Like the other one has a Flex Grow value of 0. So it doesn't give it any more space around the content. So this is the only one. I know that's I'm not really explaining it that well, but the auto when you set Flex Basis to auto, which is naturally to auto. It's all based on the flex grow. But in this case, it doesn't really come into play because you only have one with a flex grow value. The other one's 0, right? Because they explicitly done it.
So flex space is 0 means the 1, 1, and the 2 are for the full little container for each item, and then flex space is auto is just the space on each side. You know, 1, 1, and 2.
Right.
Interesting. So it's Yeah, interesting. Takes a little time to wrap your head around it.
Yeah, and I think the best with flex is just the more times the more scenarios you see and try to recreate with it, it sinks in each time.
So just from your own work and approach to layout, you feel like you're going to be like bye float, except for when I've got a picture with text around it, and bye inline block, except for when there's still a few cases where float inline block positioning.
Right.
Positioning absolute to drop at the bottom.
I guess the best way to say it is when I see possible, definitely using flex in the future. It's when as long as it's possible, and that's like the first resort. And then if I can't use it, then I'll use what you said, the other alternatives. But I just think it's, to me personally, like outside of the flex with the individual items, flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis, and as long as you keep it simple, even on those, like flex basis, you can give an outright value, width, or height if it's in column, format. To an item, like we did earlier, we gave a flex basis of 75% to the main and a flex basis of 25% to the aside. So we set the widths explicitly, just like he did on here with his. As long as you keep that in mind, and then the flex grow, you can use that to evenly distribute things across the way, or proportionally distribute things. Outside of that, I think flex is way easier than the other things, So, but I thought that was an interesting look at, the difference between basis and grow, and so you can use basis to give an explicit measurement. So in this case, it's width, just because the main axis is row, right?
Yeah.
And then you use that flex grow. Oops, wrong thing. Use that flex grow to give it that responsive effect.